wanted to take this opportunity to welcome you all to Congressman Ron Paul's Election Night Victory Party. We have some special activities for you this evening, but we're going to have to move fairly fast here because we're dependent upon what some folks in Kentucky are going to do schedule-wise. Want to thank you all for coming. We're looking forward to a great victory tonight. Wanted to go ahead and give you a few figures that are already in on election results. Early election results for Congressman Paul and his race for re-election for District 14 now stand at 76,000 votes for Dr. Paul, 21,000 votes for his opponent. Of course, we're also following the Senate race in Kentucky because there's someone that we know a little bit about and care about running there. And so far in the election results from Kentucky, Rand Paul has 55% to Conway 45%. That's with 2/3 of the votes in, which means they've already declared Rand to be the victor. You will notice that we have a screen over here with a video projection camera. We are connected live with Rand Paul's Senate campaign in Kentucky. In about 8 minutes, if everything goes according to schedule, Rand is going to come on and speak to us, which means we're going to have to do what we do here pretty quickly. I wanted to take just a moment to introduce some special folks that are here with us this evening, including the Ron Paul family. But let me start by introducing, I believe we have a couple of members of Congressman Paul's Washington, D.C. staff here this evening. I'm told that we have Jeff Deist and Holly Johnson. Are you two folks here? Please stand for us. I won't name everybody by name, but if you're here and a member of Congressman Paul's district congressional staff, would you please stand up for us? Thank you very much. Also, we are pleased to announce that we have one of Congressman Paul's oldest and dearest friends with us here this evening from the Mises Institute and LouRockwell.com, Mr. Lou Rockwell. Also, we have a group of very hardworking folks who drove up all the way from Victoria. Let me introduce our county chairman from Victoria, Trissa Carter. If you are part of the Victoria County team that worked so hard for Dr. Paul and you're here this evening, you caravanned up, please stand up for us right now. Thank you all and welcome. All right, we're going to move ahead quickly here because we're running out of time if we're on schedule. I'm going to introduce Ron and Carol's oldest son, Ronnie, who is going to quickly introduce the family to us, and then I think Carol's going to say a few words to us.
Not that one, this one. Welcome. It's pretty loud. I used to be able to do this real quickly. That enough? Test. I used to be able to do this rather quickly, but while we're missing some family members tonight, it's still going to take a while because my sister's family is pretty big. But anyway, as long as I only have to do my brothers, sisters, and their spouses and their kids, when we get to grandkids, I don't think I can do it anymore. But anyway, in the nature of time, I'll just have everybody stand. How's this down here? Can you hear me? Flip it on? How's that? Okay, now I can talk. Okay, Lori, what do I need to do next? Bring everybody up. Okay, I was going to do it quickly. I'll bring everybody up. All right, we'll start with my wife and my 3 daughters, and One of them even has a friend. Kent, yes, you can come up with us. Come on. Peggy, Laura, Lisa, Linda, and Kent. I don't know if you can figure out which one's which. They all look pretty close to me. I don't remember, but I can't tell them apart. Okay, Lori, you're next. Lori and Tom Pyatt, come on. I know we got Matt and Kim. We got Vicki and Christopher. And we got, Valerie and Jesse are not here. I don't know where they went. They took off to Kentucky or somewhere. Mark, Michael. There's Michael. Like I said, the grandkids, if you just say something that begins with a C, you'll get them. But that's Lori's family. Of course, the next one in line was, I forget his name, Rand. Yeah, his wife Kelly and their 3 boys. They're in Kentucky. They didn't want to come here tonight, but I think we'll get to watch them in a little bit, and we just can't say enough as part of his family to acknowledge what he's done. Next was Robert, and Robert is not here. He's in Fort Worth with his wife and 2 kids. No. And then our baby sister, Joy LeBlanc, and husband Andy. Is everybody here tonight? So we got Bonnie and Ben and Paul and Luke and John David. John David, wave to everybody. Wave. Like I said, it used to go pretty quick, but it takes a little longer now. But with that, I guess, Mother, you going to say something? All right, and here's my mother, the one who holds us all together.
Yeah.
I said it wasn't going to take that long for them to have to pin it on. But I did want to tell everybody that since we've been making all this history and doing all this, that they want another cookbook this year. So anybody out there that wants to send me a recipe, do it fast. And we're so glad everybody could come. I'm just absolutely thrilled. And a lot of young people are here for the first time to learn about how history is made and how elections are done. So all of the adults have to be thanked for bringing the young people and having them learn all these good things. And we have to be fast. So that's it. Thanks for coming.
Ron, it seems that Kentucky wants you to talk to Rand first. So come on up. Congressman Ron Paul.
Put it on, huh? Should I just go into it?
Yeah.
And I should be.
I want you to talk to Rand and the Kentucky people for 5 minutes.
Address them. Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming, and thank you for that grand victory up in Kentucky. It was wonderful. The people in Kentucky deserve a lot of congratulations. There's a lot of smart people up there, I'll tell you. I would like to congratulate all those people up in Kentucky who just elected a new senator. Congratulations. There's a lot of smart voters in Kentucky. Especially for those individuals gathered up there in their victory party. Those are the individuals who work so hard, the supporters and the workers and the donors. That is just wonderful that they came together and supported Rand in his campaign. But you know, Rand's been interested in politics for a good while, but I do recall not too many years ago, several years ago, he gave me a present at Christmas time, and it was a present of Grover Cleveland. And there was a quote under this present, and it said, "What is it worth to win an election or get elected or get reelected if you don't stand for something. And he knew that that meant something to me because he knew my sentiments. But let me tell you, he understands that as well. And this is what this year is all about. And I think this is what Rand's victory is all about. Is the fact that this year the people wanted their candidates to stand for something. Early on in Rand's campaign, when he was first nominated, it was decided by the far left that they would destroy him and destroy the Tea Party movement and then subsequently destroy the Republican Party. I don't think it worked. No, it hasn't, and they've have tried that, but just by smearing somebody, it doesn't do the trick. This year is a great year because hopefully what will happen is we will see a turnaround. It isn't so much that Republicans alone have won. That, of course, is important for most of us, but the most important thing is many of us are trying to change the direction of this country, and that is what is so important. This effort has been going on for a long time. There's always been people that have rallied to the cry of individual liberty, the Constitution, and limited government. But too often we've always come up short. This year, it didn't originate in the political party system. It originated outside the party. Most people refer this to the Tea Party movement or an independent movement. It is significant because it is outside the party. But believe me, even with this grand night of victory that Rand is now experiencing and all his supporters, really, it's just beginning. Because I have been in Congress for a couple years, and I have noticed many times individuals who come to Washington, within a week or two, I can tell what the results will be. We will have a lot of new members in the House and the Senate, and a lot of talk about limiting government and balanced budgets. But the test will come very shortly. And then we will know because we don't have a whole lot of time. So we here in Texas congratulate wholeheartedly the victory that the people in Kentucky have brought about. I think it's a great sign. It was a sign early this year that something was rumbling, and yet the evening is young, and we're going to find out what the final results will be. But we have to stand for something. We have to continue to believe in something, and that's what our job is to make sure that we all participate. It isn't only the candidate. It isn't only the individuals in office. It's the people that have to know. Government is a reflection of the people. If the people want good government, they will get it. If the people want to have an audit of the Fed and get rid of the income tax, that's what will happen. Before I turn it over to Rand, let me make one comment about compromise. Everybody's worrying now, will they compromise? Are these people going to be so determined there will be no compromise? Well, you know, the way I look at that is, what are you going to compromise on? You know, if they want to expand government by 100% and you agree to increase government by 50%, that's no compromise. That's a sellout. But if our side wants to reduce government by 50% and we end up reducing it only by 25%, that's a compromise we can live with. Our job is to make sure this country turns around, cuts back on the spending, believe in something, believe in liberty, and understand the free market, how the free market works. So now I would like to extend a personal congratulations to Rand, our son, and how great a job. But ultimately, it is our belief and our conviction to stand for something, will stand for something, and he will do a very good job representing not only the people of Kentucky who have elected him, but all the people in this country. America. Thank you very much. Hopefully we will carry through. Republicans have been given opportunities before, and they have come up short. It is this year, with the new blood going to Washington, with the help of individuals like Rand Paul, we are going to do a much better.
You probably need to stay at the mic so they can see you.
Thank you. We'll clap. I'd like to thank my wife, Kelly. I couldn't have done it without her. And my boys, William and Duncan and Robert, and for the great music. Thank you, guys. I have a message. A message from the people of Kentucky. A message that is loud and clear and does not mince words. We've come to take our government back. They say that the U.S. Senate is the world's most deliberative body. Well, I'm going to ask them to deliberate upon this. The American people are unhappy with what's going on in Washington. 11% of the people approve of what's going on in Congress. But tonight, there's a Tea Party tidal wave, and we're sending a message to them. It's a message that I will carry with me on day one. It's a message of fiscal sanity. It's a message of limited constitutional government and balanced budgets. When I arrive in Washington, I will ask them respectfully to deliberate upon this. We are in the midst of a debt crisis, and the American people want to know why we have to balance our budget and they don't. I will ask them respectfully to deliberate upon this. Government does not create jobs. Individual entrepreneurs, businessmen and women create jobs, but not the government. I will ask them respectfully to deliberate upon this. Why is America great? Why are we the greatest, richest, and freest country ever known to man? America is exceptional, but it is not inherently so. America is exceptional because we embraced freedom, because we enshrined it in our documents, and because we have lived and fought for the principles of freedom. America will remain great if we remain proud of America, if we remain proud of the American system, the system that is enshrined in our founding documents, the system that protects and promotes the free exchange of goods, the system that protects capitalism that has made this country great. America will remain great if and when we understand that government cannot create prosperity. We have to understand that it comes from ourselves. It does not come from government. We are the creators of that prosperity. Until we understand that, we cannot truly protect and defend our liberties. I have great confidence in the American system. We must believe in ourselves and not believe that somehow some benevolent leader in a distant capital will take care of us, will save us from ourselves. We must once again believe in ourselves. I will ask the Senate respectfully to deliberate upon this. Do we wish to live free or be enslaved by debt? Do we believe in the individual or do we believe in the state? Thomas Jefferson wrote that government is best that governs least. Likewise, freedom is best when enjoyed by the most. America can rise up and surmount these problems if we just get government out of our way. I am humbled by the honor bestowed upon me by the voters of Kentucky. I will do everything within my power to live up to that trust. America's best days lie ahead of her. If we can once again unleash the creative genius, the entrepreneurial spirit, the faith in ourselves that is the American dream. Thank you, and God bless America.
Okay. We're going to come down and shake hands. Very good, very good. I'd say he can give a pretty good speech, don't you think? I don't know if we have an update, Mark. Do we have an update to see if we're winning this race? We can't forget about the 14th district, you know. What do you think? 76 to 21. That's okay. We're still ahead. Matter of fact, I believe we're far enough ahead for declaring victory. How about that? Let's declare victory. Has anybody noticed that little baby in somebody's arms in that picture? Does anybody know who that is? Lori, tell us who that is. That's our granddaughter and great-granddaughter. Sit down and relax. No, it is very, very great night for us as a family, and for all of us interested in promoting freedom. I do want to give some special acknowledgement. I first want Trissa Carter to stand up. Now, I know a lot of people do a lot of work, and a lot of people have, and they've done it over the years, and all kinds of things, and they never get adequately thanked, and I'll probably mess it up. But Trissa, I wanted her to stand up because she has a lot of energy, and she's put it into it, and she knew the race was going to be tight, and she worked as if it were tight, and for that reason, I think we're going to do very, very well in the Victoria area. Thank you very much, Trissa. You did a great job. Now, did Sean come? Sean Bullock? Is he here? Okay, Sean is back there. He's energetic, and if anybody have noticed, we had a lot of signs up in Brazoria County and Fort Bend and Galveston and Chambers. Well, he, along with his encouragement from his dad, Bruce, they put up a lot of signs, but I know Sean did a whole lot of work, and he deserves an applause, too. But, this is an unusual year. I would say that, I've never bought into this, that today is the most important election in the history of the country. I don't know that. That means we don't know the exact future. But I know it has been different than any of the other elections I've ever been involved in. It's a different atmosphere and a different climate. And it may turn out to be the most significant election in history of this country. I suspect not, but it is very, very important. It isn't because all of a sudden the people woke up and the politicians woke up and they saw the light. I think what happened was our country had messed up, our politicians had messed up, and we allowed them to such an extent, we got ourselves into such a mess, and there was no sign that the people in Washington were going to do anything about it. And they have been begging and pleading for help. They want less government. I absolutely believe that. And they want less government, and they've tried. I was impressed with the election of 1994. Matter of fact, I was impressed when Ronald Reagan won in 1980, thinking, well, boy, things are going to be different. Spending continued and government expanded, but 1984, Republicans took over the House for the first time, in 40 years. And I had been out of Congress at that time. After I left the first time I was up there, I was home for 12 years and went back to medicine and just figured, well, there's no signs of them ever doing anything. In 94, I thought, wow, maybe this is going to happen. So I ran again in 96 and have been elected since. But then not a whole lot happened, but we didn't have, the Republicans and conservatives didn't have control of all the bodies of the Congress. In the year 2000, we had the House and the Senate and the presidency, and I thought, wow, this is the first time in my lifetime that this has happened. Maybe now they're going to do it. So what did we end up with? No Child Left Behind, Sarbanes-Oxley, McCain-Feingold, prescription drug programs, ballooning deficits, huge spending, and there was no signs of any changes. Not even a comment, not even a concern about two issues that I think are so important. What are we going to do about a foreign policy that is deeply flawed, and what are we going to do about the Federal Reserve System? Because of the lack of response, I think what happened then was the people acted outside the political system. And that's why we saw the grassroots movement. And they said this all started, back in the summer of 2009 after the Obamacare was passed. But there's a few of you in here that might have remembered that there were a group of people that went out and had a little tea party on December 16th in 2007. But that might have been the early start, but now there's a large number of people who are very unhappy. They're unified because of the deficit and big government, and they want something done. But have they answered precisely what they want? I don't think that answer is very, very clear. I think it's up to us and others to do the best we can into talking to people and getting people to understand what do we do with the mess that we have. Now, it is complicated. There's economic chaos. There's a foreign policy that is detrimental to us. We have an invasion of our civil liberties constantly. But as complicated as it is, I don't think the answers are that complicated. I believe sincerely that we got into this mess because we didn't have enough people in Washington who had respect and would follow the Constitution. That's the problem. So if that is the problem, then the solution shouldn't be all that difficult. Send only people in Washington who will take their oath of office seriously and follow it. And I think we would find a lot of answers in our Constitution. For instance, Article 1, Section 8 gives us 20 things that we're allowed to do explicitly. And what's not allowed explicitly, we're not allowed to do. And to emphasize that, we have the 9th and the 10th Amendment. All our rights are held with the people, and all the powers are left to the states. And that's all we would have to do. But we should read, some of the things we're told we're allowed to do or should do, we don't do. For instance, in Article 1, Section 8, it said only Congress should declare war. I think that's a good idea. This whole idea that presidents can go to war at will and expand war, have our CIA, which is a civilian organization, lobbing bombs in various countries, and there's no declaration of war, no responsibility for this. I think it's absolutely out of control. This is the most disappointing thing about this election, this go-around, in spite of all the benefits, is the fact that nobody's talked about foreign policy. And here it is, we're spending $1 trillion a year on foreign policy, maintaining an empire. We're in 140 countries, 700 and some bases, and there's no end in sight. I think it makes us less secure, not more secure, by being all around the world. It certainly makes us a lot poorer. And empires come down not because they gain wisdom, but usually they come down for economic reasons. And that is what this unhappiness is all about. The economy is in shambles, the people are worried, the jobs aren't there, jobs are going overseas, wealth is going overseas, the gold in the West is going to the East. I mean, there's big shifts going on. And we don't know how much time we have, but the time is short for what we have to do. But the economic crisis is far from over. They're doing everything wrong. They're doing what they did in the Depression. They're prolonging the agony of the Depression and the recession. And we need to get back to markets. Rand talked about it, the importance of entrepreneurship and getting the government out of the way. But we have to get back to that because government cannot solve these problems. Government created the problem. We had too much government, too much spending, too much debt, too much borrowing, too much printing press money, and too much regulation, and that brought on the crisis. So what has been the proposed solution? Spend more money, borrow more money, regulate more, print more money. You can't. That will not do it. We have to be more precise. We have to have an understanding of what the role of government ought to be. In our early history, and at the time of the founding and the Revolution, our founders, the colonists, knew they did not like the role of the king. They did not like the role of the government, and they took a big gamble going to war and declaring their independence against the most powerful nation in the world. And they did this, and miraculously they were able to win. But they asked the right question: what should the role of government should be? What should it be? And fortunately for us, they wrote a fairly good document called the Constitution. It was not perfect, is not perfect, but probably the best in history. And it's the lack of our respect for it and doing the things that we're supposed to be doing is the real problem. And we had this, but right now I'm afraid we're losing it. I think in the last 100 years it's been a drift away from the Constitution. Government gets bigger. Personal liberties are being abused. Privacy is out the window. The presidents write the laws. They write executive orders. They go to war without the declaration. Courts write laws. Somebody said, the old saying was that our country is safe when the legislature is not in session. That sounds good, but it doesn't matter anymore. It really doesn't matter. We have the executive branch pursuing war. We have the executive branch that runs all the regulatory agencies writing law. We have a Supreme Court and courts writing laws constantly. And if they need money, they don't have to ask the Congress. They just print it out. A Federal Reserve can print $2 trillion in a short period of time like they did with the onset of this crisis. They pass it out and bail out all their buddies. And then you try to audit them and you get steamroller. You know, and there they spend it, this kind of money, and how do they spend it? They bail out the people who are benefiting from it. The people who are on Wall Street and the ones that were involved in all this mischief and derivatives and all these things, and they get bailed out. They became worthless, so what did we do? Our Federal Reserve then bought those things. They said, well, they were illiquid. Nobody wanted to buy them. Well, nobody wanted to buy all that stuff because they were worthless. So now we own it. We own it. So, you know, the welfare state is designed to help all the poor people, the bleeding hearts. You know, we who believe in conservative constitutional principles, we don't care. We have no compassion for the poor because they can give you free houses, free medical care, and free education. Except the education has its shortcomings. The houses, how many people are having all these free houses? They're the first ones to lose their job and lose their house. This system has totally failed, and it's a failure of Keynesian economics. It's a failure of economic intervention. The idea that governments can regulate, have a central economic planner. And we've been trying this for so long. But the magnificent thing about what's happened in the last 2 years, it has now been declared, it's evident to more and more American people now, that that system of economics has failed and there's a better way to do it, and we know where the answers can be found. There's another school of economic thought that's called Austrian economics. It's free markets. They believe in sound money and property rights. They believe in contracts. They believe in the things that, even though it has become well known in the last 100 years, 150 years, at the time of the founders, they understood. Common sense told them well enough that they would respect the integrity of the money. We should have honest money. That's an old biblical principle that you shouldn't cheat people by false weights and measures. And property rights have been known for thousands of years. People ought to own property, and that you should always fulfill your promises, and that's contract. That's been built into our system. It gave us the maximum amount of freedom and the maximum amount of wealth in this country. But now the government is involved in undermining contracts. They're the counterfeiters of the world. They don't protect the integrity of the money. They counterfeit the money and they destroy the money. What if you have a mortgage contract and you legitimately have a right to your property? The government comes in and they say, oh, moratorium on that, you can't do that. Then they tell you you own your land. Do you really own your land? Well, if you try to use your land, how many permits do you have to get? You get permits from the UN all the way down to your local officials. And then then you have to pay rent, and the rent keeps going up. So this has to be a time that we change course. There'll be no magic bullet. It won't change overnight. But believe me, if we don't start trying to turn this aircraft carrier around and get it going in the right direction, the calamity is going to be much worse. See, there's two ways this will come to an end. It cannot continue. You can't keep spending this money. You can't keep printing money. You can't keep abusing the people, and you can't keep trying to manage a world empire. So it comes to an end. The question is how will it come to an end? The Soviet system didn't continue. We didn't have to fight them. They had all those nukes that they threatened, and we had the grand Cold War and all that. It ended because they went broke. It ended because they had a flawed economic system. So we have two ways that our system is going in. It will not, it is not likely to end, even though we keep working for that, and we're going to gradually build our numbers in the Congress, and we're going to come to our senses, and we're going to cut the budget 10% per year. Well, you know, there's an addiction in Congress. It's like a medical addiction. They're addicted to inflation. They're addicted to spending. And if you stop spending it, there are withdrawal symptoms, and they won't tolerate it. So that we could do. We could do it and work our way out. The other way is you wait until you have a bigger calamity than the financial crisis that we have going right now. You'll have a dollar crisis. The dollar will quit working. Everybody's going to get a check. But what happens if the dollars bounce and they don't work? And then you are in a worse crisis, and then your freedoms are very much threatened. So I I consider my proposal a modest proposal. You know, I mentioned about sticking to principle in that short talk with Rand's group, and this whole idea of compromise. You know, whether you compromise with government getting bigger or compromise with government getting smaller. One thing I do believe in that isn't compromise, but it's working with different groups of people, working with coalitions. Because what has happened in our country is that the unity understanding of what liberty is all about has been chopped into pieces. So people who want to use government for this, and the other people want to use it for something else, they get into a big fight and a squabble, and they consume the wealth, and we get into this mess. But there's still groups of people out there that consider themselves liberals and others conservatives and libertarians and constitutionalists, that they will agree on certain issues. On the issue of foreign policy, a lot of conservatives disagree with me on this. They think that we should have preventive war, that we should just start wars. I mean, this is obscene. And yet we're tolerating this. Our country is noted now for torture in private prisons and rejection of habeas corpus. I mean, all these things. But you can find different groups that will agree, and you bring coalitions together. I think the best example of what I'm talking about is what you and others achieved with our determination to expose the Federal Reserve. Just think of getting 320 people in the House, even with the group of people we had, agreeing that it's time we take a look at the Federal Reserve because they're ripping us off. So on civil liberties and foreign policy and transparency and the Federal Reserve, I had a group get together during the last campaign, not Republicans or Democrats, and they were libertarians, constitutionalists, green parties, and group. And I brought them together for one purpose, to see what we could agree on. And this miscellaneous group agreed that we ought to have a balanced budget, that we ought not to fight wars that are undeclared, we ought to get rid of the Federal Reserve, and we ought to protect your privacy and your rights and look into things like, why do we have the Patriot Act ability to spy on you without a search warrant? And we brought people together like that. So you can bring a lot of people together. But all that is doing, there's nothing miraculous about that. All that is doing is unifying people with one concept: freedom. Freedom brings people together. And I am absolutely convinced of that. It means, though, that you have your right to your life, your God-given right to your life, and it doesn't come from the government. So you have your right to your liberty, and you ought to have the right to keep the fruits of your labor. That means no income tax, of course. Now, but it requires a bit of tolerance, and think about it the way the First Amendment is written and the way we generally accept it. We accept people for their religious beliefs. We're getting a little less tolerant even there, but basically Americans agree that you can practice your religion or you don't have to have a religion, and there's no religious test to run for office, and generally it's accepted. But sometimes lifestyles and habits and different things like that, we want to regulate and tell people what to do and how to run their life as if government can protect you from yourself. I don't think government can. And government can't make a free and perfect society and a fair society by saying, oh, the wealth isn't distributed fairly. We're going to distribute wealth fairly by controlling wealth. Of course, everybody gets treated equally. We all end up equally poor. So we don't need that. But if we can tolerate the idea that some people use their lives in a way we don't approve, just as some people practice religious values the way we don't approve, we don't put them in jail or try to rule over them. The only way government can distribute wealth fairly or tell different people how they should live or tell other countries how that they can live is at the sacrifice of liberty. Every time they want to get involved in your life or in your wallet or involved in the internal affairs of other nations, we suffer. We suffer economically, and we suffer from the loss of our liberty. And we have now met this crisis. We're at this crisis. We've consumed our wealth. We have little liberty left. Believe it or not, it's an encroachment of our liberty. We've lost our property rights. And something has to give, but we have to have something to believe in. And this is what Grover Cleveland was talking about. If you don't have something to believe in, what good are these elections? Whether you get elected or re-elected, it means nothing. I mean, but there's so many that I have met in Washington that is the end goal. The end goal is to be elected and have power and do whatever you can to stay in. But right now, today, the American people have spoken. They're speaking right now. They're tired of that old system. And you don't go back home and say, you know, what I can do is I have a hotshot job and I'm the head of the U.S. Senate and I can get from my state anything I want. But people know the country's broke. Those false promises are over with. So now it is up to us to really think it through and study hard and understand exactly what liberty is all about. You don't have to go back to ancient times. You take what we've had and move it forward. The gold standard does not have, we've never seen the perfect gold standard yet. We didn't have a perfect gold standard. We understand more about monetary policy now than we did, you know, in the 19th century. So there's a lot of improvements. They keep saying, oh, Ron Paul, you are a great candidate if you were in the 18th century or the 19th century. That's how I like to play it off. But the whole thing is freedom is a brand new idea. It's only a couple hundred years old. The tyrants have been around for 6,000 years, and every time they talk about big government, they're talking about tyrants. They're talking about control of our lives and everything that we do. So I am an optimist. I believe this awakening is worthwhile. And I'll tell you what, Carol, I think, mentioned in her little remarks about seeing a lot of young people run. And I go and I try to find the young people. I go to the universities and we do get a few people to come out. And I'm very, very pleased with that. Because I never, 20 years ago, if I'd go out for 20 people and I'd have to say something about the Federal Reserve or the Austrian economic system. Nobody had the vaguest idea, nor they cared. Now I can mention this in a crowd of 1,800 or so at a university, and more than half will know exactly what I'm talking about. Out of need. It isn't because of my magical skills or my unique ideas. It's the need to have something. And by picking up the truth that we've had in this country and what built this country and put it together and apply this and give it to a new generation, believe me, they're energetic. And they're not, the groups I talk to aren't looking for handouts. Mainly because they don't think we have anything more to give them. And they're at the point where, you mean to say that you can have enough productivity, more productivity in which we could. In a free society, you have the greatest amount of productivity with the maximum and the best distribution of wealth. And we don't want to give it up. So this turnaround that's happening right now, we should be very pleased with that. But believe me, the people can't leave their guard down. They have to keep an eye on everything that's going on. And hopefully the country will keep an eye on exactly what's happening in the Senate and what's happening in the House, what's happening with our president. But the answer is philosophic. The answer isn't technically adjusting the budget and tinkering here and there. We have to decide what the role of government should be. And if the role of government is to take care of us from cradle to grave and tell us how to make a better life, how to run our life and police the world, believe me, I don't want any part of that. I think what America is all about is saying we protect liberty. The goal of all political action is to protect liberty so that you can have a right to your life, you have a right to make your own mistakes, and you have a right to keep what you earn. And we don't have any benefits coming by us going around and telling other countries what to do. And if they do what we tell them, we give them money. If they don't, we bomb them. It's time we did what the founder said. Talk to people, trade with people, and travel with people, be friends with them. Just think how much more has been achieved since we've been acting in an economically friendly way with Vietnam. Before, for 30 years, French and Americans were killing Vietnamese to tell them this is the way they had to live. Now they're westernized and they trade with us and we invest over there. Heck, the Chinese, you know how they were going to roll the country or the world with communism? Well, they might not be true freedom lovers, but they certainly aren't communists. There are bankers now, But the struggle is ideological. We're in the midst of a revolution. It has to be a peaceful, ideological revolution, and that is what's happening. I can guarantee you that there's enough people on the campus of this country, in the places I've visited, people like you come to places like this, the people that were at Rand's rally, they are ready to look at this, and there is a lot of study. And one of the greatest things that has happened, when I first got interested, I had trouble finding the books to read and study. It was hard to find it, but it's not hard now. There's no excuse for not knowing what's going on either with the political system or learning about sound economic policies and what liberty is all about. Because of the Internet, it's great, you know. So I want to finish with a word of encouragement and optimism, because there's every reason in the world to believe that we can win this fight. I don't believe it's going to be tomorrow, the next day. I think the sooner we take our medicine, the better it would be for us. We need an operation, and so far the country isn't willing to take the operation because they're afraid of the pain of the operation. And the operation is to get our government out of the way, and people get frightened. But if we don't get out of the way and let the people go back to work, believe me, it's going to get a lot worse. So thank you very much for being involved. Thank you very much for many of you who have been helping me over the years and helping Rand. This is just great. It means a whole lot to Carol and myself and all our family. But I appreciate that. But stay in the fight. Keep the battle going. And wherever you see a place to go and help, and encourage the young people to be involved. They have a lot at stake. So once again, thank you very much for coming. Have a good time. I guess I'll give you that back.
Good job. Good job. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ron. What a great night. We now have two Pauls in the Congress of the United States of America. I haven't done the research, perhaps Ron and Carol have, maybe Lou Rockwell knows, but has there ever been a time where we had a father and son in the Senate and the Congress before? Kennedys? Father and son? All right. In any event, this is historical tonight. It's a great victory for freedom, quite an accomplishment for Ron Paul and the things and the values that he believes in and stands for. Before we conclude, let me just give you the latest numbers that we have for Ron's race. Last I checked a minute ago, we still have lots of votes to come in, but Ron was leading by 87,000 to 24,000. On the other hand, if the trends stay the way they are right now, there's a number of incumbent Democrats in the state of Texas that are about to lose their jobs, including Chet Edwards and Lloyd Doggett. Still a lot of votes to come in. That could change, but pretty much this evening the early vote totals have been what the election day totals have been. So I want to thank you all again for coming. What an exciting night. I want to thank all of you for your support for Ron Paul and for the principles of freedom. We've only just begun to fight. Good night. This is Mark Elam, campaign manager for Congressman Ron Paul. We're just wrapping up our campaign victory party here this evening. We still have a lot of votes to come in, but things have been holding pretty consistently throughout the evening. Right now, Congressman Paul is leading his Democrat opponent by 87,000 to 24,000, about 3.5 to 1, and that's been holding pretty consistently all night long. So it looks like Congressman Paul is not going to have any problem being reelected to the United States Senate. And, of course, we're very excited, as many of you have seen, that Rand Paul was elected to the United States Senate this evening, Congressman Paul to the House. And it's an exciting day for the Paul family, but even more than that, it's an incredibly important day for the battle for freedom and liberty in America. And so we're looking forward to having this father and son team work together in the United States Senate and the United States House as well to turn this country around, to try to get some things done with taxes and spending and following the Constitution, and hopefully auditing the Fed and getting back to a system of sound money in our nation. An exciting day. Glad you all could participate and see a portion of it. Really made history today. We were all glad to be a part of it. And I thank you all.